Mike Gallagher's Radio Rumble on 77 WABC.
Good Lord, what have we done? 10 minutes past 4. Happy Thursday to you, and howdy do. Welcome in to another edition of the afternoon show on Talk Radio 77 WABC. The circus has come to town. It has rolled right through to Penn Plaza. It looks like it looks like the group home. All of us together are out on a weekend trip. You ought to see this cast of characters gathered in Studio 77 here at Talk Radio 77 WABC. Hi, everyone. Mike Gallagher. Now, we've got two emotions here, two distinct emotions. On the one hand, we're going to analyze and debate and dissect a very serious issue. On the other hand, if you put Lionel, Lynn Samuels, Curtis Sliwa, Dick Oliver, Mike Gallagher, Ed Koch, all in the same room.
Stop!
What are you... Shut up!
I feel it.
Why do we need Ed at all?
I know. Well, we may, by the time we're through with him, he may not come up.
Who's these demotions? Serious demotions?
Who was the what? Who got the
You
motions?
said there were serious demotions.
No, motions.
Emotions.
Emotions.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Curtis, good afternoon to you, too.
Good afternoon, Mike.
He's sitting back just being contemplative.
Tell us about your car service.
Shush, don't bring up the car service.
on.
Don't get me started. I'm so ticked off about the car service.
This makes the parkway look like a walk in the park.
I'm so mad. Well, it's again, the image I had.
This is Mike Gallagher. I'm new to New York.
I'm from Albany.
Go to hell!
All right, who cares? Who cares?
Tell it, Mike. We'll go down to Toots Shores.
The new one, the old one.
Well, no, before the car service, though, we got to thank the good people at 1 if by land, 2 if by sea.
Like snoring
Sounds like
on
a
the
snore.
Last night, the big anniversary, my wife and I's anniversary, she showed up unexpectedly. I needed to get a romantic place. Lionel knows romance. And Lionel said, look, if you want a romantic candlelit dinner, you go to 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. Well, little do I know, I say it on the air, little do I know all the waiters and the maitre d's.
Yeah, right.
They're WABC listeners.
They don't do this in Albany, do they?
I didn't know that. Well, they gave me a nice table. They were very welcoming.
Albany's so small, the head of the mafia is a Filipino. Main Street's was one way.
It was one
Poor Lionel thinks he's sitting somewhere with Freddie Roman.
Well, we had a wonderful time. It is a great... It's down in your neighborhood, Lynn. It's in the Village. Dick, you know where...
Oh, Dick will be down there.
Dick can't
shortly.
wait. Because Dick's on his way in about 5 minutes. Thanks to all the good people, though. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. We had a wonderful time. My wife and I made me feel very special. And the guy who really did alert them that I was coming is a guy named Richard Foyle from Madison, Connecticut.
What a guy.
His possible future son-in-law.
Dick Foyle.
Is the maitre d'.
Which
So
which is a new form of a safe sex practice.
You're a sick human being. You ought to be institutionalized. As should everybody.
We are institutionalized.
Yes, that's why we're here.
I can't help it.
All right, 13 minutes past 4. We're gonna. Here's the plan. This Gallagher Radio Rumble, which has already run amok. We've already lost all control of any semblance of normalcy and decency. But Lionel is here. You hear him weekday mornings, 5:30 to 10. You hear Curtis Sliwa all the time, morning, noon, and night. Lynn Samuels, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Dick Oliver in the mornings from 10 to 11, except when Mayor Giuliani is on. That's Fridays. And we're going to be joined by Ed Koch, allegedly. Now, I believe it when I see it. Alone.
Notice that? We're 4 to 5:30. He's alone.
Comes all by himself.
And you'll find out why.
No. He's going to join us. What do you mean he's alone?
He'll still be alone because he'll be the only one talking.
That's right.
Stop.
Get ready.
By the way, you know what his nickname is that I coined? The Wizard of Oz. True.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
He's a beautiful cat, and I mean that.
I've never met him, so this will be my first...
You've never met Ed Koch?
No, I've never met him because I'm not here usually when he's here. So I haven't got a chance to see him in person, but today's the day. I met Rush Limbaugh before I met Ed Koch.
Ooh.
You're really impressing us, Mike.
There you go.
Yeah.
See? I know.
Any other people
Maybe
you
you
met
can
here in
snore
New
a free
York,
book from
Mike?
him.
Just a name dropper that I am. Name dropper that I am. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's spend the first segment, everybody, talking a little bit about one issue that a lot of people are focusing in on. We got all kinds of faxes and emails and responses to the media coverage of the aftermath of TWA Flight 800. Okay, that's a hot button issue. Lynn, I think, disagrees with everybody on this. I think. You and Curtis got into it. You and Dick
Maybe
got into
everybody in this room.
it. Didn't you and Curtis get into it the other
Yes.
day? And you and Dick got into it?
Yes.
You and Dick got into it a couple of times.
Yes.
Lionel, did you get into it with Lynn at all about the media coverage?
One night, but I was drunk, and it was a long road
Long
trip back. I thought I was going for the seatbelt. I didn't know. Next thing you know, we're out of control.
Whose idea was this anyhow? 15 minutes past 4. When we come back, we'll talk about the media coverage.
I can't be serious.
Well, we're going to have to be. This is a serious. Now, Lionel, please straighten up a little.
No, but we don't. This isn't a funeral. This isn't a funeral home or a church.
but we
can talk about this because if I remember correctly, I think Dick called up Lynn's show
a couple times,
trying to,
It wasn't me.
And absolutely, you just it was beautiful though. It was a very hotly contested debate. You maintained love and affection. I can't say the same for
Curtis.
That was nothing but enmity and sheer hatred.
Lynn has acknowledged that she's never bought a drink for you or me.
That's right.
That's all you care about. You're like really focused on that. I'm going to have to really dig into my pocket the next time.
Well, when Curtis called in, though, he did a report, and you started yelling at him. You were shrieking at him about how, now, did the FBI agents really say anything to you at all? And then you were yelling, you and your air-conditioned studios. We have it on tape. Do we have the exchange? All right, you're going to have to hear this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to relive that magic moment.
And by the way, Curtis got poison ivy.
Yes, he did.
That's right. That's why I'm in a subdued state from the tip of my toes to the tip of my nose.
But are you still taking that home remedy stuff?
Well, I'm finally going to revert to Aunt Mary's cure. She suggested that I take a bath in horse manure. It's about the
Well,
only thing I
just
haven't
stay in
tried.
this room
How
this
appropriate.
afternoon. And
Nice.
There's something
good.
appropriate about that. I mean,
There's
now
a-
you know what your listeners feel like.
There's a metaphor there somewhere.
But seriously, folks.
All right, we're going to talk about the news media coverage. We're going to replay Curtis and Lynn's exchange, and we'll take your phone calls. 212-563-WABC, 201-489-WABC, 203-862-WABC. It is the first annual Gallagher Radio Rumble with this wild cast of characters we call WABC talk show hosts. Here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Right now at 4:16, let's get our first look of traffic and weather. It's time for the WABC Traffic Commander, John Del Giorno. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. Rumble.
hello.
Hello.
It's like old home
Why
week.
don't you give him the old good afternoon, Mr. Gallagher?
Mr.
Oh,
Gallagher.
Mr. Gallagher, oh, Mr. Sheen.
Mr. Gallagher, sir.
Jesus.
I sure enough do like your show.
Whose idea was this, John?
Mike, you going to help me out of here?
No,
Come on.
I'm trying to figure out how I can leave the studio.
No,
you
you're just
know?
watching me get buried. That's it. Great. Thanks.
It's all yours, buddy.
All righty. We're going to take you right out to the Pulaski Skyway. This report brought to you by Action Park. We've got an accident on the outbound side. On the Newark side of the Skyway, some pretty hefty delays to go with that.
Now, back to Mike Gallagher's Radio Rumble on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
They're indicating that they're onto something that would indicate that something has happened here that would indicate a terrorist attack.
Curtis, first of all, I think for you to speak for the FBI is extremely irresponsible.
Lynn,
Since I am
look,
sure
Lynn,
that they
I
did
don't
not
wanna argue
indicate
with
that to you. The vice chair of the National Transportation Safety Board says that they have no evidence that it is anything other than an accident.
Lynn, you're sitting in a nice, comfortable, air-conditioned studio there. I'm here in sweltering heat telling you what my conversation in 20 minutes with FBI agents
And
is.
I'm sure the FBI agents gave all the secret information they possessed
Well, Lynn, I'll
to
tell you
you.
what. I'll end this conversation because you're obviously not interested in what's happening live at the scene. So have a good day, Lynn Samuels.
One of the emotional exchanges of this, the aftermath of TWA Flight 800. Never one to hold back, Lynn Samuels or Curtis Sliwa. Guys, what led to that exchange?
What is
I mean,
he supposed to do, Lynn?
what-
Seriously, if you're someplace reporting and a guy comes up to you and says, "Hi, I'm from the FBI. Here's what we know." And you say, report, somebody from the FBI just told me something. What did he do that was
This
wrong?
happened 18 hours after that crash. Now,
No,
they don't
but
know
what did he-
anything
but what did
today,
he-
a
but-
week later.
What did Curtis do that was wrong? He just said, he told me this.
Look,
Reporters do it all the
we've been through
time.
this 1,000 times. I think it's irresponsible. I think the first 3 days or so, the reporting was
Who was irresponsible?
all
Curtis or the
irresponsible.
FBI?
Curtis was?
Curtis was.
Well, I mean, were you
Wait a
really...
minute.
No, wait.
Did you
Curtis
see
supposed
their
to say-
badges? I mean, first of all, somebody says they're from the FBI.
These are the
How
same.
do you know?
These
Well,
are
you
the
knew
same
them from-
investigators who were involved in the World Trade Center blast investigation. And in fact, the reason they came up to me is I was left on the outside of Satellite City compound where Dick Oliver had access, Ron Mitchell, because they have press passes. I didn't have a press pass. They told me I couldn't go in. So every car had to pass me by. Here I have this big backpack, and I'm trying to get somebody who's going to get me inside. The FBI guys come, hey, Curtis, come on in the car. It looks like you're hot. Sit in the back seat here. We've got to wait for our boss to come outside and give us our orders, because they were not going inside. They were not going to the Coast Guard facility. Then they started to slowly give me some indication that the mission that they were on had to do with something other than what was being talked about, which was the prospect that a missile, maybe whether it was from the ground or from a boat or handheld from a shoulder harness, was fired at the airplane.
But
I
they
wasn't given
should
an
be
opportunity
fired.
to talk about
Well,
that.
then
because
they should be
Lynn
fired.
Samuels wasn't interested.
Well, clearly you think, though, what bothers you, and I've heard you over and
No
over,
facts.
is the speculation. That's
Yes.
what bothers you. You don't like any of the speculation. Although, I mean, if this was speculation that the authorities were giving Curtis, it was the authorities who were
And
speculating.
not only that,
Curtis.
let's
They
be
should
honest,
be
Mike.
fired.
Mike, what happened? An hour later, national news broadcast. Every major national program was indicating that the FBI was now out there checking into the fact that a missile may have taken down the
Because you
airline.
behaved irresponsibly, and then the national news media began to behave irresponsibly.
I still don't understand.
That
You've
doesn't
never-
exonerate
Lynn, now, Lynn,
any of
you've
you.
never defined this. Let's say, for example, he's at a fire. And he stands up there, and the fire marshal comes up and says, by the way, Curtis, we suspect arson.
Right.
Preliminary investigation says we suspect arson. He's
And he
not supposed to
reports
say
it.
that? It's the same thing. He's merely saying...
There was no preliminary investigation.
You're
18
asking
hours
him-
later.
All right, Dick Oliver, who's right on this exchange? Lynn Samuels or Curtis Sliwa?
Well, I've reviewed the tape of Lynn and myself, and I must tell you that I think Lynn is absolutely correct in this entire thing. And you may be wondering why. Well, she cited hysteria out there as one of the problems. I haven't noticed it, but I trust Lynn because she's such a good reporter. She's made several other points that we shouldn't hold our public officials to account. And I
didn't
believe
make that
that.
point.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. We shouldn't go quoting our public officials, the politicians, and everybody else, even though we pay them and we pay them to do this
Well,
job.
when they don't know, we
She also has
heard
maintained that
Pataki,
this is
we
not a
heard
local
Panetta.
story. Now, this was I didn't realize that this wasn't a local story.
That's the best one.
This is
You
the
gotta
one.
admit.
Well, no, and listen,
Yeah,
listen,
this is-
and I'm a big Lynn Samuels fan. As a
Well, we
newcomer
all
here,
are.
we all are. But I got to ask you because you did say that this is not New York. You said this
No.
is not a New York
No.
story.
It
What do you mean
happened
by
to
that?
happen in New York.
Yeah, but
It
that's
is
not
not
a
a
local.
story
That's right.
tied
That's
to
right.
New
It's an
York.
international
Was the
story.
World Trade
the Times
Center
of London
a New York
should have
story?
reported
No.
this.
The World Trade Center was not a New York story.
No, it was an international terrorism
Let's take a
story.
phone call. Dan's in Staten Island. Hi, Dan. You're on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Welcome to the Rumble.
How you doing, Mike? I'm honored to be in such good company with Lionel and Lynn and Dick Oliver, yourself, and but I'm
Curtis.
And Curtis.
Curtis is. I'm calling in defense of Curtis.
Yes.
I'm doing that because this is perhaps one of the most emotional experiences in my life in America, listening to what had happened, and everybody has got their emotional levels are going to be so high. And for Lynn, whom I love, I listen to all you guys because that's what makes me somewhat intelligent. I try to get a balance in my own life in the things I deal with. And Lynn, whom I love dearly, I thought she was off base this time because in critiquing Curtis, where your station reaches 38 states, it's like airing your laundry. If she wants to beat him up in the back room on a difference of opinion,
Oh,
okay.
no. I mean,
No,
I
at
got
that
disagree.
moment,
Not at all.
at that
I mean,
moment,
she disagrees. She should say
I
it.
felt something highly destructive and irresponsible was being done, and it happened to be
But you're not
live
blaming,
on the air.
But you're not blaming Curtis as much as you're blaming the authorities who would have speculated
I'm
to Curtis.
blaming-
He's just the messenger.
No, I'm blaming both of them. I would not have repeated that information on the air.
Well, let me mention this, Mike. I didn't just repeat what I heard. I actually went out into the salt marshes. That's how I got the poison ivy, the mosquito bites. I saw the FBI guys a mile up on the coast where reporters were not permitted to go. I actually got a launch to take me there to Bikini Clash. clad women picked me
Yes.
up and another guardian, and we actually did a live report from the boat.
Yes, you did.
So we followed up on it, and they were where they said they would be, measuring coordinates.
And measuring coordinates, Curtis, if I recall correctly, measuring what would be trajectories.
Exactly.
Right.
So for some particular reason, these FBI agents saw it, I guess, incumbent upon themselves to measure
To
trajectories.
be responsible, you report when you have discovered facts. You do not report
It
on
was
the
a fact.
process.
It was a fact.
Lynn, you don't
and
know-
an FBI agent said this.
Lynn, you do not know the difference between facts and conclusions. And I just want to raise one more issue, and I think this is why I agree with you entirely in this whole thing. We do not report anything until there's an official report, until some bureaucrat backed by politicians decides what we, the public, should know, we who are paying these public officials and bureaucrats. I like that position. I like it.
Well, I got to tell you something, guys. We may not agree with Lynn's exchange with Curtis all the time or in every aspect, but there are clearly many, many people who do not like the speculation that has taken place in the aftermath of TWA Flight 800. There's been all kinds of speculation about missiles, and I read today about meteors and all this kooky stuff.
Speculation by whom, Mike?
By speculation by the news media, by perhaps politicians, as Dick referred to, and people that are saying this is why it happened, this is why it didn't happen. So I think Lynn reflects a view that a lot of Americans feel.
When John McWethy reported initially that there was suspicion of perhaps either a missile or something because of this radar. Oops.
Hang on. Hold
I
that
know
thought.
that tune.
We'll talk. You know that song. We can all hum along. More coming up with your phone calls. It's the Mike Gallagher Radio Rumble, the aftermath of the crash of TWA Flight 800. Stay with us. It's 4:30.
Let's get ready to Now, back to Mike Gallagher's Radio Rumble on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
This is the way journalism works. You try to grab the facts and only the facts.
But there are no facts. There are no facts
Lynn,
today.
if you can conclude that there are no facts, if the one I've just told you about what a reporter does and what the circumstances
I
were.
don't see that those are facts.
And what do you want? You want a blue ribbon report delivered yesterday morning or the morning before?
When there is
Dick Oliver and Lynn Samuels in a heated exchange. Dick, you sounded a little angry.
Well, I was, because I don't think Lynn is recognizing what Curtis...
But you're not mad at Lynn. You're frustrated
At the situation.
because this isn't hatred. Because we're good friends. This isn't bashing.
Well, we
or-
disagree.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Very
may-
nice of you, Reverend Lionel.
Norman Vincent Peale over here.
No, I mean, the job of a journalist is to go out and try to dig up as many facts as possible. Lynn doesn't recognize that an eyewitness can give you facts. An FBI agent, as Curtis reported, can give you facts. And you report these facts, you put them together, and you say what likely happened.
And yet, can it be argued, Dick, that there has been sort of almost a mass hysteria in reaction to what happened?
Who's
This is
hysteric?
a bomb. This is a missile. They're coming to get
The
us.
only hysteric people I've run into is Lynn and me.
There were 2 pages in Newsday on Tuesday critiquing in the same way I did the media coverage of this plane crash.
Anthony's in the Bronx. Hi, Anthony. You're on
crazy.
Talk Radio 77 WABC. Welcome to the Rumble.
Yes, good afternoon to everybody.
Hi.
Lynn, let me say, first of all, you are definitely right. This mentality that Sliwa has, as if let's go bomb every Arab, we'll be justified in doing it before the facts, is usually what leads to bigotry in this country.
Well, that's wrong.
Wait a minute. When the hell did you say
Yeah, that's
that?
it. Well, I
say
don't
that?
know.
What?
I've suggested that if I was going to come up with overlooking who might it is.
Curtis.
Wait a second.
Hang on.
Everybody is entitled to an opinion. Method of operation of Middle East terrorists is to blow up airliners. Just like if I see a guy outside of somebody's house in a convertible who's been shot twice in the back of the head with a cigar in his mouth, it looks like a mob hit. At this point, if you want to believe that there was an act of sabotage, you would have to point the finger at potential Middle East
But
terrorists.
why
And
would
there's
you
nothing
want to
wrong with
believe
that.
it was an act of
Well,
sabotage?
because every
when you
day
don't
in
have
the Middle
enough
East,
facts?
every day in newspapers, they advocate the overthrow, the destruction of America, the blowing up of airliners,
All
the
right.
blowing up of the World Trade Center.
but
What do you have,
Anthony.
wax in your ears?
Anthony, go ahead.
But Curtis, you had the rubber hose out ready to beat up everybody who was an Arab who's a Muslim in this country.
Excuse me.
No, Curtis,
do you know
I
that
know,
Ramsey
Curtis, I know your
Youssef is on
attitude,
trial?
man.
The World Trade Center mastermind of the man who prepared that blast there, who literally had a plan to blow up 12 American airliners while on international flight to and from America.
He's on trial. That hasn't been proven.
Well, excuse me. That means there are other people who are thinking the same way, who are planning the same way, from Syria, from Iran, Iraq. Get
There are
real, Lynn.
Americans who are planning and
What
thinking
Americans
that
have
way.
blown up American airliners?
Well,
Give me
there's
one
an
instance.
American who blew up a
No,
building.
we're talking airliners now. The method of operation of the
just
Middle
said
East
to
terrorists,
blow up
whether blowing up
But-
French
but
airliners,
Curtis- but
other
Curtis-
airliners, American
But
airliners
Curtis,
have
but
been...
Curtis, America thought that Middle Eastern terrorists blew up the Murrah building in Oklahoma. We rushed to that judgment
Mike,
in the
I
aftermath,
ask
right?
you, what American has opted to use the method of sabotage of blowing up an American or foreign airliner to get a point there, point
More
there,
coming up.
Get a hold of yourself, Mike.
I'm really sorry. Let's listen to traffic and weather, and then we'll go right back to this discussion and take your phone calls. I'm sorry, folks. It is very difficult to compose yourself in a room full of these absolutely certifiable people in one studio. I'm telling you.
It is now 15 or 16 hours after the crash, and to the best of my knowledge, TWA still has not contacted the parents of that child in France.
11 minutes before 5. Welcome back. Mike Gallagher with you on a Thursday on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Guys?
Mike, that
Yes.
last soundbite points out something. If it hadn't been for the press coverage and the continuing press coverage, these families would not get the recognition. Even Lynn's best favorite politician finally showed up today to console
Well,
these families.
let's talk a little bit about this. I'm Mike Gallagher along with Curtis Sliwa, Lynn Samuels, Lionel, Dick Oliver, and I want to react and have your reactions as well to the way the families have been treated. We'll start with Lionel. Do the families have a legitimate gripe? And we've heard this constant agony from them, and our hearts all go out to them. We know we have some idea, I think, what they're going through. Are they right in their protestations about the way they say they've been treated, in your view, Lionel?
By TWA?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They could have done, and thanks to Mayor Giuliani, by the way, who brought that to everybody. Oh, this is Lynn, you can all you want. But when he turned the heat up under that, that's when they paid attention. And what was so stupid about that, so stupid, that if you look at the themes, this thematic constant, is that airlines constantly are your friend. We're taking you home. This was TWA's chance. Nobody blamed TWA. There was no negligence on their part. They had every opportunity to shine. And this idiot, Erickson, does a 30-nanosecond speech from the get-go. All they had to do was say, look, folks, here's the thing. I've got this list. Now, I'm going to go home and take a nap. Curtis is taking over. I'll tell you if your name is on this list. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll give you every bit of information I have. And we're going to stay up 24 hours, and we're going to be by your side. That's all they had to do.
Curtis, is he right?
Absolutely. Although I heard Lynn Samuels attack Mayor Rudy Giuliani for giving out multiple interviews on that. Well, Lynn, what the hell is the mayor supposed to say when different media people were coming up to him asking him the same question? But once again, reminding everybody that it was the management's responsibility of TWA within those first 12 hours to make sure that everyone was informed, everyone was contacted, given an opportunity to come to Kennedy Airport, and they weren't doing that.
And yet,
the
Lynn,
mayor was right to
They
be
were
on their
doing-
side.
and Lynn, I guess,
as best
but-
they could, trying to be accurate.
But Lynn,
their
but-
interest was accuracy.
But interestingly enough, Ed Koch, who will join us at 5:30, started out very supportive of Mayor Giuliani. Now he is apparently openly trashing Mayor Giuliani over his handling of this, saying that he's just trying to grab the spotlight.
Well, I
Mike,
think
he's
that's what he
jealous.
was.
He's
Mayor
jealous.
Giuliani was, as he always is, trying to turn the attention onto
Oh,
himself.
come on.
Let's
And
take
Governor
some phone
Pataki
calls.
did too? Is that it? You mean to tell me Ed
demeanor-
Koch wouldn't have done that if he were
I'll
mayor?
tell
Come
you,
on.
Ed Koch would, but David Dinkins wouldn't.
Mike,
Ed
you know,
Koch said he would have just. Ed Koch said he would have just loaned everybody his cellular phone if he was mayor. That's what he told Al
Yeah, but
Roker.
not
Stay out of the
everybody-
photo ops.
Stay out of the
Not
photo op.
everybody
I'll
had
tell
a
you,
cell phone.
if Rudy Giuliani had not shown up there, the first person to scream about it would be Lynn Samuels,
No,
saying that
I don't think
insensitive
any
mayor
of
we
them- I
have.
don't
That
think-
insensitive mayor.
I don't think that was the place for any politician.
Hey,
And
but
by the way, all TWA had to do was to say, listen, I don't have all the facts in, but you, the bereaved family members, I'm going to give you the information I have. Now, I'm going to warn you. It's not confirmed. I'm going to tell you. But I'm not going to hold anything back.
As they
and
made
if I
sure-
can give somebody one moment of consolation, one moment of relief, telling them, look, if this turns out to be wrong, don't get mad at me. That's all you had to do.
And then they would have been complaining about that.
8 minutes before 5. We're reacting to the aftermath and the coverage of TWA Flight 800. It's Gallagher's Radio Rumble on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Back to the phones we go. Doris is in New York. Hi, Doris. Welcome to 77 WABC.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Sure.
I want to challenge Lynn, but I want to just make one quick statement. I think Koch is just very jealous of Giuliani because Giuliani's showing what a really good mayor is. Now,
Okay.
Lynn, you claim to be the pillar of accuracy, but I think you really have a radical political agenda, and I'd like to quote some of the remarks you've made over the years, and I have some of them on tape.
No. What? Help me understand why you think her so-called radical political agenda has affected her reaction to the TWA crash.
Very easily, because I think that she is afraid that Arabs will be blamed. Now, I don't want to see anybody blamed, yet I want to see the facts come out.
So you think she's afraid that Arabs will be blamed?
Yes.
Are you afraid Arabs are going to be blamed, Lynn?
Not if they did it.
Yolanda's in New Jersey. Hi, Yolanda. You're on 77 WABC.
Yes, I usually am pro-Lynn, but I'm against her at this point. I've been in travel 26 years. In 10 years, I interviewed pilots of different aircraft for my TV show. She's never flown in a 747. I've been on many of them, and many of the pilots I've
You've never flown, have you, Lynn? You haven't flown at all,
But
have
what
you?
does that have to
No,
do with
that's
anything?
one
I'm
thing
talking
you
about
fellas-
the news coverage. I'm not talking about the airplane.
Well, Lynn, hear me out here. Pilots will tell you this is one of the aircraft that can go on one engine. It's a great aircraft.
Okay.
It's a wonderful plane. Now
So you don't like her theory?
Well, listen to what I say. It is an excellent aircraft.
All right, there can't ever be an accident. There's never any question that something happened.
747's the worst in the history of the airline industry.
Well, Mike, we've been talking about the families. I had a guest on today who said that these families out there, and he's spoken with them, need only two things. They need to be able to grieve together and with whomever will grieve with them, and they need information, and they have not been getting information. If the Lynn School of Journalism continued to operate, they would have nothing to hold on.
Let me
to.
add something too.
Hang on. We got to break, guys. 5 minutes before 5. We got to get it all in. I won't. Lionel will get the next word as we continue the Radio Rumble. I'm Mike Gallagher on Talk Radio 77 WABC. More of your phone calls and reaction to the aftermath of the crash of TWA Flight 800 coming up.
Out of town, you fly over there, you show up. You don't know what New York is, Long Island. All of a sudden, out of this bureaucratic mess, this morass, here comes the mayor. And he says, wait a minute, I'm with you guys.
Right.
You are going to be so thankful. He was their only, you talk about call for action, he was their only conduit to action. He was the only person. People are walking around complaining and giving these ridiculous, bland, pablum statements.
And he managed not to be accused, by the way, of giving out misinformation like Governor Pataki
But
was
then
accused
why,
of
when
doing
he
this
was
week.
chastised,
And Senator D'Amato,
did he
sure.
uncharacteristically start keeping quiet?
More of your calls. We're reacting to the aftermath and the media coverage
God
and the
bless
speculation of TWA Flight 800. I'm Mike Gallagher along with the gang. Your phone calls coming up as we continue on this Thursday edition of the Mike Gallagher Show on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Hear the stories. Follow the path to victory. Hear the world come together for one common cause. Live ABC News reports every day from the Summer Games in Atlanta. Right here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, New York.
5 o'clock. From ABC News. I'm Chuck Sievertson. Investigators are examining the last sounds of the doomed TWA Flight 800.
About 11 and 1/2 minutes after takeoff, the recording ended abruptly.
Federal safety investigator Robert Francis on New York's eastern Long Island on the initial hearing of the cockpit voice recorder.
All 4 CVR channels recorded a brief fraction of a second sound just prior to the end of the tape.
And next,
analysis is being directed to the identification of the characteristics of this sound.
That could take days.
We know that these times are not free of peril.
President Clinton at New York's Kennedy Airport met with families of the victims of the jetliner disaster. He also says tighter airport security is going into effect. Expect more of your luggage to be searched by hand and all jetliners to and from the U.S. to be searched before takeoff.
Our responsibility now as Americans is to pull together and work together to solve the problems of tragedies like TWA Flight 800.
As the President and First Lady walked through a crowded hotel ballroom meeting with hundreds of grieving family members, they saw many, many photos of the victims.
The family members wanted to show the First Lady and the President pictures of their loved ones. It was a somber, sorrowful morning.
Peter Goals with the National Transportation Safety Board says all the family members were deeply appreciative of the time the President took to spend with them. John Bascom, ABC News at JFK Airport.
So, there you go.
Well, you never guessed that he lost 35 members of
Well,
his
he's
family.
not a touchy-feely guy. He really isn't.
Or,
he's a real...
Kelly, or the other fellow. You would never guess, or TWA in general. You'd never guess that.
I think Giuliani kind of seized upon the fact that one of them went away for a few hours.
I bet you their families were contacted.
Hard to say. Hard to
but
say.
Mike, wait a second. How is it that the mayor of the city of New York, his support staff, can rush out there to the Ramada, be there at the beck and call of the victims' families, and TWA officials had to go home and get rest?
Well, they weren't at the beck and call. They went there because Giuliani wanted to, and that's great. I think he should be saluted for that. I agree with you.
That's his
That's
responsibility.
his role, and he's great at it.
No, he was there to draw attention to Rudy Giuliani.
No, he was. He was there to represent New York as the mayor, and I give him a great deal of credit.
Once again, Lynn, you'd be the first person to say if he didn't show up there that where was our politically correct.
But guys, that's what happened with TWA. Just what you're doing right now is exactly
what if David Dinkins showed up?
It was a damned if he does, damned if he doesn't situation for TWA's Erickson. He didn't speak long enough. He wasn't concerned enough. Somebody went home and took a nap for 3 hours. Hey, that was most unfortunate.
But Mike, don't you think that they prepare for catastrophe?
They do, and they were prepared for it.
And that's the best they could do.
Because they don't, thank God, have much practice in putting the plans into action.
Well, it's the one time when you have to put the wheels into motion. That's what you prepare for.
But it hardly ever happens, thank God, so it doesn't work easily.
Lynn, don't distort the mayor's point, nor you, Mike. The mayor's point was not so much that this guy had to go and have a snooze for himself. It was that they were lax in informing the people, the families, that they were.
There was not a rush to give out a list because it was not verified, and they didn't feel it was accurate. And God knows the worst thing they could do, Dick, is give wrong information about who may or may not have been on that plane.
I disagree with you.
Why?
Not wrong information, but as Lionel said a moment ago, this is what we believe now.
Right.
You should know this.
Yeah, but when you're saying this is what we believe,
Yes.
your wife might be dead, your wife might be alive.
Other people's names.
It happens all the time.
Other people have frequent flyer
That's right. I
miles.
think the criticism of TWA is as insensitive as it would have been to criticize family members, because it was family members. TWA had family on that plane, and I think it was very insensitive.
Well, they
to criticize
acknowledged they
that
did a
company.
lousy job.
Well, I don't think
TWA has acknowledged that.
They did not.
Yes, they did.
That's not fair.
They
Erickson
have changed their procedures
Erickson,
now.
as late as last night, said, look, we're going to reevaluate procedures because of all the flack that people like Dick Oliver and Lionel and the newspapers gave us. But they didn't say we did a lousy job. That's come on, Dick, that's hyperbole.
You know, Mike,
That's hyperbole.
maybe if they hadn't picked up lock, stock, and barrel and moved to St. Louis, their whole operation, they would have had the bulk of their operation here, and they would have been right on top of it.
There you go.
They
Well,
chose to move out of here.
Way to kick them when they're down, Curtis.
You know, my favorite, Lynn had the best one, the best line so far. You missed
Louis
it.
is part of this
She said
country.
catastrophes don't happen that often, so they're not ready for it. That's like saying, let's don't train stewardesses how to handle a catastrophe.
No.
Because this is so rare.
You have
Forget about
something
the-
written
forget about the
down
speech.
about what to do
Right.
if it happens, but
And you follow a
you don't
procedure.
get to do it. You don't do it very
On a
often,
regular
so
basis.
it doesn't work out very well when it does happen.
And I think it's fair to ask, why is the mayor and Dick Oliver and Lionel, why are they better equipped to deal with the expertise of how to handle a TWA jumbo jet being blown out of the sky than they are?
Nobody in this city, Mike, better at getting involved in a situation as it's unfurling as the mayor of the city of New York.
I agree.
He does it solely to bring attention to himself.
And your favorite Dinkins would have been out there saying, gee, should I go play tennis this morning? Or maybe I should go pay a visit to the family. Come on, Lynn. It's the difference between somebody who's involved and a mayor who is
it's the
dispassionate
difference
and distant
between real
and not
compassion and overweening egotism.
I want to see the mayor there representing the city.
And by the way,
the mayor did a wonderful job of representing this great
There were
city.
hours when the mayor was with the family at the Ramada, and there were no cameras. Nobody knew
That's
anything.
right.
He was there with them one-on-one.
He got in that car as soon as it happened. He said, I don't want to go to the site. I don't want to go to TWA. I don't want to go to the airport. I want to go where the families are going to be so I can be there for them.
And in front of the most cameras.
Most New Yorkers, he did New York proud.
But anytime a politician does anything, I know that their detractors are going to say automatically they're doing it just for their own particular cause. I understand that. But here's the deal. He's the mayor.
Right.
He's the mayor. He, by virtue of what he does, he's seen. He's everywhere. Do you know the night of the Riddick Bowe fight? Remember that?
Yep, he was there.
Here.
He was here in the middle of the
Knew
night.
this.
He does it all the time. That's what he does regularly, and that's why he's a great mayor. 22 minutes past 5, Talk Radio 77 WABC. I'm Mike Gallagher with you on a Thursday, along with Lynn Samuels, Curtis Sliwa, Lionel, and Dick Oliver. A roundtable rumbling discussion about the aftermath and the coverage of the crash of TWA Flight 800. I want to go around the horn here before we go to the phones and have you all react to this fax from John Zusak. I can't read all of his words because some of them are filthy, but here's what he says. In my opinion, I think there should be a complete blackout in the news media over this. I feel the press, the papers, and even the jerks like you on WABC are so insensitive as to how this is being reported. Yes, you have the obligation to keep the public informed, but put yourself in the place of a parent or person knowing that they've lost someone in this tragedy, and then think about how you blanks are covering this. You're all just looking for one thing: ratings, sell newspapers, make more than the competition can make. That's sad, but that's the way all you blanks are, and you will never change. So as far as I'm concerned, you can all go blank each other in the blank. That from John Zusak. Lynn, there's a lot of anger out there.
Please see the original of that.
That's it,
I want
right
to
there.
see what the blanks
Oh,
are.
you can figure it
Look
out.
at this cretin's
But what do you
handwriting.
think about his criticism? There's a feeling there. A lot of people think we're doing the wrong thing.
Did not want to discuss this, nobody would be calling. So we're driven. Talk radio is driven by what people want to talk about.
Curtis?
Well, in the subways, the streets, that's what people are talking about. Overnights, all the programs I've done, that's all people want to talk about. And I suggest that we have a right with federal officials. Now, remember, Bill Clinton did not assign somebody to lead this investigation and force everyone else to put all information in through one center of information.
Right.
So the federal government has allowed the local authorities to run rampant in different directions. No Pena, no major official here guiding the investigation because they're all down in Atlanta worried about the Olympic Games.
Lionel, do you hear any of this anger on your show in the mornings? People are mad about the way the media has responded to the TWA crash?
Frankly, no. I think people are glad that we're talking about this.
Right. Dick?
Think about that, how silly that is. You don't want to hear anything about one of the worst disasters in the history of this country. What are you, nuts?
On the shores of Long Island. Dick?
I can't believe that I can continually hear it. Morons like this character who are screaming, "Keep me in the dark! Don't tell me what's happening!
We don't
I
want
want to turn the page."
Mark's in New York City. Hi, Mark. You're on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
First of all, Erickson told Giuliani that he could not give family members the list because the government wouldn't allow it. When Giuliani, like the professional he is, called the government board, they emphatically denied that they ever told Erickson any such thing.
Correct. That's correct. Correct.
Attaboy.
Now, there's something else that bothers me. I must have heard Lynn hundreds, if not thousands of times.
You must be a steady listener.
I am. About 10 years to ABC.
God bless you.
I've heard her engage in the most fantastical of speculations on the flimsiest of evidence. I'll never forget her flying off the handle, denouncing President Bush for the October surprise. She must have denounced him hundreds of times.
All right. I don't care about that.
Hey, Mark, how about OJ? How about OJ?
This ain't beat up Lynn afternoon,
Those are not serious issues. This
OJ is not
serious.
serious.
No, it isn't.
Double murder.
But then again, remember Flight TWA 800 wasn't a New York story.
That's right. This is not a New York story.
Not a New York story.
Knock it off. We're not ganging up on
Wait a
Lynn.
minute. What is a New York? What is a New York story? Give me an example
Something of relevance to New York.
For example?
The state budget. The latest budget in the history of the United States.
There's good reading.
I thought maybe she'd say a plane crash.
You told me that
three
dead on the Palisades Parkway is not a story, not a local story.
I'll tell you, there isn't a place I go where people don't run up to me and say, how about
Lynn,
that budget?
You don't believe that, Lynn. You do not believe that. Lynn, I know you already. You don't believe that. You don't believe it's not a New York story. You do not believe this is not a New York story.
How many times have you talked about the budget? Honestly, you're too busy talking to people with bad poetry. I've heard your show.
Let's
you
find
were
out.
talking about the budget one
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Here's a Lynn fan. Ghazi.
I'm correct. Wrong are all of you.
Ghazi, I've had on my show.
Long Island. Hi, Ghazi.
Ghazi's pushing the the Muslim angle.
Come on up and defend Lynn, Ghazi.
Thank you.
God bless you. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
It is irresponsible to speculate and very responsible to report the fact.
There you go. And haven't we done that?
Many of the media people have been speculating that it is Middle Eastern terrorism.
Wow. Ghazi, you did the same song and dance. Nobody here has said that.
Nobody. Who said that here?
Ask Sliwa.
I'm speculating.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
Curtis has. Over there, Dick. Point, the guy in the red hat there.
And he reported that somebody by the name of Sidney Zion and Yuri Dan and I told him Rosenthal are pointing the finger at Middle East terrorism. Who is the Middle East? The Arabs and the Muslims. And therefore, we as the Muslim community and Arab community in America are getting the backlashes of these putting fires in these speculations.
All right, thank you, Ghazi. 28 past 5, one open line. Sally's in Rockland County. Hi,
Short
Sally.
shrift there.
Huh? Well, I
don't like the tone of that, Sally.
All right, well, stop it. Sally! Sally!
Hello?
Hello!
Hi, I'm sorry.
That's okay, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think, Sally?
Turn your radio up, Sally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I in the air now?
No, you're not. No, you were not.
No,
you
you're
thought
in
you
Cleveland.
were. You were just talking to a producer. John's in Harrison. Hi, John. You're on WABC. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, John.
There's one problem I see. Nobody's hitting it, okay?
Okay.
Hit it.
I think all this is to blame, not on the media, not on Giuliani, anybody. The president hasn't done nothing about terrorism since he's been in office.
What should he do?
He should start taking some retaliation. Like
better believe it.
Oh, drop bombs. Oh, I like that. I like
We'll go after Libya. Let's start with Libya.
Lynn and I go hand in hand on this one because what do? You drop bombs. Oh, who are we going to drop the bombs on?
Libya.
People we don't.
Are you listening to me? Libya.
Mike, who in Libya?
Well, how about the terrorists who we know are responsible for the downing of Pan Am 103?
Hold it. Where do you put this bomb?
That's on the heads of the terrorists who we know are being sheltered in Libya.
Do you send a bomb down?
You go and blow them away. You don't think we have the...
You send a bomb down?
We don't have the ability to do
that?
No.
We couldn't get Gaddafi. You're going to get innocent people.
What happened to Gaddafi, though?
All we got to do is subcontract the Mossad to go in and do it for us.
Of course.
I mean, they're very adept at doing this.
So we become terrorists then. Is that right?
No, let's sit around and wring our hands and say, let's hope they don't do it to us again.
No,
we
impose
know.
an embargo.
That's right.
That's all we got.
Let's
go dropping bombs.
Economic sanctions. No, let's do economic sanctions. What the heck? Let them blow a few more planes out of the sky.
Put the bombs on Libya.
I mean, well, that's where they're holding the terrorists who blew Pan Am.
And they put the bombs on New York.
What should we do with the guys? That's amazing to me, Dick. What should we do with the guys in Libya right now who blew away Pan Am 103?
You have to identify who did this.
And you don't think
and there is
United
no
States
identity
intelligence
now.
What is that? The Security Council
There
has passed
is
a
no
resolution that Libya must give them up. We know who they are.
We know who they are. We know they're there.
Are you saying that Flight 800?
We do.
Flight 800 was. Are you now pinning it on?
No, I'm saying if we're going to declare war on terrorism, let's start with the known terrorists who blew away Pan Am 103.
So what do? You drop these bombs?
You
Where?
blow them away.
Where? Who's them?
We know who they are.
Anybody who's a Libyan?
No, the terrorists who we know blew away Pan Am 103.
Where are they located?
They're in Libya.
Oh, so we drop bombs on Libya.
Let's do more economic sanctions. Let's wring our hands some more. Unbelievable. All right, end of round 2. It's 5:30. More coming up with the Radio Rumble. 5:30. Attaboy.
We know there was a catastrophic explosion. It's caused by some sort of a bomb, obviously. We're not further describing where that would be, whether it was carried on or something hit the plane from outside and caused it to explode, or a mechanical problem that has nothing to do with terrorism or criminality, or something in the cargo that would have caused a mechanical problem.
FBI's James Kallstrom on eastern Long Island. And so is Robert Francis, the federal safety investigator, who says initial examination of the flight voice recorder has a sound on it that ends abruptly.
Recovery of data from the last few seconds of the tape is difficult because the tape was contaminated by its immersion. It is expected that all of the recorded data will be recovered.
New tighter security at airports is announced by President Clinton. More luggage searched by hand. Every jetliner searched before takeoff. I'm Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
We're going to not scream. We're not going to yell at each other. We're going to be docile here.
His fingers are crossed.
Facts. We know. We know that Libya is harboring the terrorists who blew up Pan Am 103.
Correct.
Okay. We know that Libya, under Gaddafi, is engaging in terrorist exercises and training in that country. Fact, we know there are Libyan military installations that are part and parcel to terrorist activity. Question, why can we not declare war on terrorism and start with a destruction of the military installations and the terrorist training grounds, as it were, in Libya. What's wrong with that?
That's a different story. If you've got a target which would hit the terrorists, fine. Okay. But what this country tends to do is to
blow them up,
as Reagan did, is just to blow up the country.
I know what you're saying. I got what you're saying. I wasn't saying blow up Libya. I'm saying let's go after the terrorists.
Reagan, in his defense, was pretty doggone accurate. In fact, had France allowed us to fly over to refuel, Gaddafi would be toast as we speak.
But and also don't forget that when Bill Clinton first took office, he bombed the CIA, whatever it is, in Iraq. He bombed those headquarters to punish them for saying they were going to assassinate George Bush.
And Pan Am 103 was a direct result of that moron bombing, trying to get Gaddafi, which killed his daughter. That was a direct result.
His 2-year-old daughter, yeah. 23 minutes before 6. Let's welcome to the discussion Mayor Ed Koch, who joins us live here. Hi, Mr. Koch. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Nice to finally meet you in person. And, it's been interesting. Before we take a break for the Olympics, you initially were pretty supportive of Mayor Giuliani in terms of his reaction to TWA.
He couldn't have won without my support.
Right.
There were 4 people who were instrumental in his election, and he said so at the time. And if he didn't have any one of the 4, I don't think he would have won, because he only won by 2 points. That was David Garth and Ray Harding, Bobby Wagner, who's now dead, and myself.
But you were initially supportive of his response to TWA.
Yes, I was.
But lately, I understand you're pretty critical of what he said.
Well, what I said at the time that he said it was that it was proper to criticize them, but it's not proper to go on to every radio station and every TV station and constantly engage in a savage attack of that nature. For me, it was grandstanding on his part. Similarly, I thought it was proper for him to go out, the governor, the senator, the congressman, to show concern, but they had to understand there comes a time when you have to leave. You are not a member of the bereaved family.
21 minutes before 6. Lynn Samuels, Ed Koch, Lionel, Dick Oliver, and I'm Mike Gallagher as we continue with our reaction, this radio rumbling, reacting to the aftermath of TWA Flight 800. Eddie's in Bayside. Hi, Eddie. You got about 30 seconds. Welcome to WABC.
30 seconds. Well, I just want to adjust my comments to Lynn Samuels.
Okay.
She said something about Giuliani, that he was doing it, he was appearing there for his own ego, or something to that effect.
Right.
Yes.
Was David Dinkins not appearing at this local, because it wasn't international, the Crown Heights affair when Jews were getting killed?
He did go to Crown Heights.
13 minutes before 6 o'clock. Welcome back. It's nice to have you along for the ride on a Thursday edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Talk Radio 77 WABC. Mayor Ed Koch has joined this group of walkaways. Oh, experts.
Reprobate.
Yes. Yeah, just ask us.
Ne'er-do-wells.
Yes. The axe murderers. Mayor, let me ask you a question. One of the issues that has come up this week, and I was interested in your comments about the New York Post reporter who was arrested and jailed overnight for impersonating a family member, allegedly, in order to try to get a story. She had a badge, supposedly. Your thoughts on...
My thoughts are these. I think it's an outrage that she was put in jail. There's no question, and you can condemn her from an ethical point of view. But to put a reporter in jail because they're trying to get a scoop, and they walk in and impersonate somebody, you put them in jail. I mean, that's Rudy. I don't think that George Marlin would have done that without having first discussed it with Rudy, and it turns out that the family that was involved, and they have every right to be upset, is a family that I think is close to Rudy. That's what I had heard. But I think it's just wrong. What do you put Woodward and Bernstein in jail for whatever they did in looking for scoops?
Right.
I mean, it's ethically wrong. Doesn't deserve jail. And I'm surprised that the Post has been tiptoe about it. And I was surprised, for example, that the Daily News, when its reporter was barred by the police commissioner, didn't bring a lawsuit. They just tiptoe about it. I mean, it's outrageous that the Giuliani administration can get away with that stuff.
I'm curious as to your take on the way the city of New York has responded to this entire tragedy.
Well, I think the city's responded very well. I think the mayor did what a mayor should do, offer to send and actually send those experts that we have that nobody else has, scuba divers and special cops, and we have helicopters and we have boats. We are like a nation, and the mayor offered that, and it was accepted, and that was to the mayor's credit to be on duty and to get that done very quickly. It was right for him to go there. It was not right for him to stay there day after day, seeking what people tell me. This is not just my opinion. I mean, it looked like grandstanding. I mean, you've got to understand these people are going through terrible misery, and there are experts out there who can brief them. It doesn't require the mayor or the governor or the senator or the congressman to do that day after day.
But now, Lionel, you disagree with Mayor Koch's take on that, right?
I think it was great that he was there. I never saw him doing it or doing anything that I thought rose to the level of excess. In fact, if he wasn't, very frankly, if it wasn't for the persistent badgering, if you will, insisting that something be done, I don't think the information would have been disseminated as quickly as it was.
Firstly, the only information that he was talking about was the passenger list, and I said at the outset that I thought he was correct in criticizing them. I thought it was grandstanding to run from television station to television station to make that point. Well, you could come
Was
to
Governor
different
Pataki grandstanding as well?
Yes, he was, and I like Governor Pataki. But by the way, the worst thing he did, and has to be condemned, and I think he feels terrible about it, is to tell people there were 100 bodies out there. That's what he said.
Where did he hear that from?
I don't know where he heard it from.
He said he heard it from divers.
But let me just say this. Whether he heard it from divers or not, he's not the guy to make that announcement. The person in charge, that's the FAA or the FBI, and it turns out not to be true. All he transmitted was a rumor. Now, that's just wrong. Now, I like him. And he has a very nice manner, so it isn't, outrageous. It's very gentle, but nevertheless, it was wrong to do, and I think he's packed up his bags and...
What did you think of Leon Panetta, who came out and said that he heard there was explosive materials or debris that was found? And
well, let me just
Michael
say...
Perry comes out and says, forget what he said.
Well, I believe that the plane was blown up. And I think it's okay to offer that, not to go out and talk to the family, but there's no reason why you and the others in this room can't have an opinion on what occurred. My opinion from the very beginning is planes don't blow up that way without being blown up by explosives. And so I think it was perfectly proper that he say it. I don't think he should have said it as a matter of fact, which is what I think should be condemned. To offer an opinion, that's okay.
8 minutes before 6 o'clock, it's the WABC Radio Rumble. We're all reacting to the aftermath of TWA Flight 800 here on the Mike Gallagher Show on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Let's take your phone calls. Frank is next. Hi, Frank. Welcome to 77 ABC.
Hi, how are you? Wait,
Hi,
let me shut off my radio here.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, my original question is, the campaign speech that Clinton made today, when he came to, quote-unquote, console the families.
What's wrong with that?
I thought was completely
What's wrong with
out
that?
of line.
I mean, if he were here every day...
President of the United
For the man to make generalizations about what he intends to do and then have reporters go to airports and ask people what they think of his new plan, I mean, this is something that is already in place. And for him to have to, how did you guys
Yeah, and this is, I'll tell you something, though. And that was all gone, so no one heard any of that. That's crap. But let me ask you something. This is the risk that President Clinton ran by coming to New York City. And as soon as I knew he was coming, I thought some clown is going to call a talk show and say...
This guy's not a clown, he's a dope.
Yeah, just an idiot.
Then if he didn't come, they would criticize him for not coming.
If he didn't come, he'd be criticized.
He was already criticized. Some of the family said, what took him so long? I get so
and
tired.
And those were the French family.
I'll tell you, there's so much of this politicizing that has taken place that I think makes all of us sick. Don't you think, Mayor? I mean...
I must say that I think we get fewer of those calls than you might expect. I mean, most people who call you and me are very decent. Very rarely.
So. Well, there was an exception.
What about Frank Lautenberg coming from New Jersey? That was one of the more bizarre
he's
sightings.
a member of the chairman, a ranking member of the Transportation
Committee. You know, I guess it could be argued, but you could also argue New Jersey.
Do you have a hunch at all, Mayor? Do you have a gut feeling, or do you want to speculate? What happened?
Well, listen, obviously an opinion.
An opinion.
I believe that there was a terrorist act, and I believe that we should strike back.
At whom?
Well, I will tell you. Take Iran. Iran, not very long ago, had a conference of terrorists where they could network. Now, that means that the state of Iran is supporting terrorism. I don't know that they supported this particular terrorist. It doesn't make any difference. If a state engages in terrorism, whether it's directed at Russia, where they had buses blown up, and I don't know that it happened there, or England, wherever, or Israel, or the United States, it doesn't make any difference. We have a right to extinguish the ability of states that have been recognized by the State Department and put on a special list as terrorist supporting states.
See?
How do we get them?
Dick Oliver, what did I tell you? I knew I
know who you're going to bomb.
I
will tell you who I believe, because as I was coming in, I heard the broadcast. I think someone said military installation.
That's right.
I would go further. I would, for example, Iran, according to the State Department, is building a nuclear reactor. Libya has a facility to create poison gas and biological weapons.
That's right.
Iraq probably would like to do that, and if Israel hadn't destroyed it in '81, our troops would have been facing nuclear missiles in the Gulf War. I believe we have a right, if it is a terrorist state, and we have concluded that, and then you have some obvious thing like holding a conference of terrorists in your country.
So why did you need the downing of a plane?
What do you mean?
Why don't you just do it?
Let me just say once again, it isn't just the downing of the plane. What President Reagan's conference on what to do, they said we don't do enough to inhibit terrorism.
4 minutes before 6. I knew I liked Ed Koch. I told you, Dick. 4 minutes before 6. More coming up on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Thank you very much, Lionel.
She's come undone.
Gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much. This went very, very well. The great radio rumble, Mayor Koch. Thanks for coming up and joining us for a few minutes. We appreciate it. It was nice to meet you. Lionel, some of you will be staying, some of you won't be staying. It's okay. We're rolling along on this Thursday edition of the afternoon show on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Another hour to go. Callers on the line. Hang in there. You're coming up.
Hear the stories. Follow the path to victory. Hear the world come together for one common cause. Live ABC News reports every day from the Summer Games in Atlanta. Right here on Talk Radio 77 WABC New York.
6 o'clock. From ABC News, I'm Vic Ratner, and we're live at the crash command site on Long Island.
We know there was a catastrophic explosion. It's caused by some sort of a bomb, obviously.
FBI agent in charge, James Kallstrom, now using the B word for bomb after National Transportation Safety Board experts found the plane's cockpit voice recorder ended abruptly with a split second of sound that will now have to be analyzed. The hunt for the bodies goes on here. Divers out there now. ABC's Tim Sheld on the divers' gruesome task.
Vic, we got our first look at those Navy hard hat divers doing the bulk of the deep water work today. Their yellow helmets right out of 2,000 leagues. They look more ready for space. Diver Kevin Olfhaven, who helped find the black boxes, told us the dangers of this work.
Some of the pieces are pretty big, 5 or 6 feet tall. They're sharp. They're all over the place.
Not to mention, Vic, the long umbilical cord that can get snagged on some of that sharp wreckage. He calls this work arduous.
Tim Sheld. President Clinton, visiting with the families today, heard their complaints about being the last ones to know what's going on and moved to deal with that.
There should be in place in the federal government a specific office that has the responsibility and the capability to assist victims' families in tragedies like this one.
Mr. Clinton's meetings with the families left relatives such as Joe Ortiz grateful.
I feel very good about him coming over and showing his emotions, and it shows that he really cares about us.
I'm Vic Ratner, ABC News.
Hi, Lou. You're on 77 WABC.
Hi, Mike. Good talking to you.
Thanks.
It was really entertaining. I enjoyed listening to it.
Good.
One thing missing was Rush. I have to hear Rush and Lynn go at it together.
Yeah, what have they gone at it much before?
A couple of years ago, when Lynn used to be in the 12 o'clock slot, they had a little altercation there. But then they moved Rush later on. In fact, you sound so much like Rush, it's amazing.
Well, you know, I like to say he sounds like me.
Do you look like him too, or what?
Well, he's getting thinner, I think. He's losing some weight. No. I don't look like... You know, my first job in radio... not my first job in radio, my first job in South Carolina, after I was out of radio for a while, I was in TV, and somebody said, boy, you sound like Limbo. I thought, oh, no. I sound like who? Because I hadn't heard of him. This was in 89. It was just after he went national. And the worst thing you can do, but I think after people hear me a couple minutes, they know that they can tell the difference.
Yeah, your voice is so enjoyable, easy to listen to.
We have the same timbre, I think, in our voice.
Exactly, that's it.
But we would have loved to have had Rush here yesterday. Rush, of course, leaves, though, to go do his television gig, so it's always tough to have Rush's input. It was the nicest thing when I left Albany, and I appreciate your call, Lou. When I left the station in Albany, the last day, we had a big going-away party at a restaurant, and Rush called up there and wished me well and welcomed me to WABC and to New York and spun some yarns, and Rush has been terrific. He's been a great guy. He's mad at screener Mike Kochopoli. He's very upset because the other day there was this big... Rush gave out the local call-in numbers as a joke. It was a shtick about Clinton wanting to have the non-emergency 911 system. And, of course, Rush was ridiculing that because, after all, Bill Clinton thought of it. So Rush was making fun of the Clinton idea to have a new 911 system, and he gave out as a gag the local call-in lines for WABC, the New York number, the 212-563 WABC number. And so apparently Mike Kochopoli made some noise about it. I think in a joking way, but Mike was like kidding. You know, we were getting blocked out. We can't get local calls because all the ditto heads from around the fruited plain are calling in. Yeah, is Rush Limbaugh there? Can I talk to my master? Can I talk to my hero? Can I talk to... Is Rush there? And so we weren't... Mike was worried that the lines were being blocked out. So Kit Carson, Rush's chief of staff, and I, in the hallway the other day, were talking about the whole... what led to that. And Rush comes ambling down the hall. And so I'm afraid Rush is mad at me because I was kidding about it on the air because I kept saying, why would Rush do that? Why would Rush give out the local call-in lines to... What is he trying to do? Sabotage the afternoon show here on WABC? Rush has been very nice to me. And I was kidding, of course. And Rush has been nice. He wasn't trying to sabotage. So Kit was explaining it to me, and I said, oh, so then Rush gave out 563 WABC. Rush says, no, Gallagher, I gave out 563-9222, which, of course, spells WABC, which is the talk line. Tell Kochopoli to get a life. And he kept walking. And my only response was, phew, thank God, Rush isn't mad at me, he's mad at Kochopoli. Ed's on a car phone in New Jersey. Hi, Ed, you're on 77 WABC. Welcome to the program.
Protected Lynn too much.
Huh?
You protected Lynn far too much.
I protected Lynn too much? Oh, he's on. See if we can get him back. He's out of range. Get out from under an underpass. See if we can get him back. He thinks I protected Lynn Samuels. I wasn't protecting. I want to hear all these guys sitting there yelling at Lynn. That was my concern. Denny is in the Poconos. Hi, Denny. Welcome to WABC.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good, Denny. How goes it?
It goes good.
Good.
I love your show.
Thank you very much.
I really enjoy it. I listen to you religiously.
Well, God bless you.
And yesterday, driving home from my business in Jersey, back home to the Poconos, I'm listening to your rumble there.
Right.
It's good, but you need a moderator.
We needed a moderator?
Absolutely.
Other than me?
Yeah.
Other than moi?
Because you got in right on the bandwagon. There was so much yelling and screaming at one point that I'm sitting with the guy that works with me, and I said, can you believe this? They sound like they're having a free-for-all over there.
I'm telling you, at one point, I thought Curtis was going to go over the table at Lynn. I thought, oh, my God, if they start hitting, surely they won't hit each other. Sure, and of course, I don't know that they wouldn't hit each other. The Mike Gallagher Show rolling along for our Friday.